How's it going, everyone? We are coming up on the release of a game that's been gaining a lot of steam and a lot of traction, and I think can be one of the bigger multiplayer games of 2025, and that is the extraction shooter in Arc Raiders. Extraction shooters is a market a lot of developers and publishers have tried to get into. Some of them haven't turned out all too well, let's just put it that way. Arc Raiders, however, I do feel like is shaping up very nicely, and it's got quite a lot of buzz, and we do have a brand new video that has dropped, and it's related to the PC release of the game, and I think it's very relevant to another aspect of this game, and that is the system requirements. So we'll talk about that. On top of that, the Arc Raiders Twitter account has noted that they've adjusted Arc Raiders pricing in select locations based on the fact of, different locations and currency and things of that nature. We'll talk all about that. And also, there seems to be a story going around that, Arc Raiders is getting censored in game chat from some very, very notable games, most notably Call of Duty Black Ops 7 and Battlefield 6. So I did see the Arc Raiders Twitter account also poking some fun at that, so we'll talk about that at the end of this video very briefly. But first of all, the NVIDIA GeForce YouTube account has put out a Arc Raiders 4K NVIDIA DLSS 4 trailer. Now, this isn't really particular to the gameplay of the game or introducing new information from a fundamental game design standpoint, but the system requirements, I think, should be a big talking point with this game in a good way. In a very, very good way. And I feel like based on these system requirements, based on this video, that DLSS is being utilized how, in an ideal world, optimization, AI upscaling technology like this should be utilized, where it's not being utilized as a crutch to forego on optimizing a game at a ground level, where a lot of games have done that. Monster Hunter Wilds did that, and a lot of these games are doing that, where they have DLSS baked into the system requirements of the game, and it's pretty much mandatory. Borderlands 4, I don't even know why I didn't bring that up right away. Borderlands 4, it's pretty much mandatory that you do utilize the upscaling technology if you want playable performance in that game. In this case, we're talking about DLSS bringing it to the hundreds and hundreds of frames per second, but if you look at the system requirements for a game of this caliber and how it looks like, incredibly tame, and we'll see how the final game runs and how it's optimized, but this gives me a lot of faith. So minimum requirements: Intel Core i5 6600K or a Ryzen 5 1600 processor, 12 gigs of RAM, GTX 1050 Ti or an AMD Radeon RX 580 or an Intel Arc A380. Recommended. Okay, now first of all, before I get into recommended, those minimum requirements are actually insane. I wish we got a little bit more insight in terms of how the game is going to run on those minimum requirements, but we're still 3 weeks away from the release of the game. I hope you guys understand how insane a 1050 Ti and an RX 580 for a game that looks as good as this game does, that being minimum requirement, is ridiculous. Like, the 1050 Ti and the 580 came out years and years and years ago. I remember using an RX 580, I want to say testing games in like 2017 or 2018, so the fact that we are 8 years removed from the release of the 580 and it's still capable of running games in 2025, that's insane. And then recommended, obviously, if you want to play the game in the ideal way, i5 9600K, Ryzen 5 3600, 16 gigs of RAM, RTX 2070 or an AMD RX 5700 XT or an Intel Arc B570. Maybe I'll have egg on my face, and then by the time this game comes out, it'll be an unoptimized mess, but fingers crossed. The fact that the system requirements are as tame as they are, we're still 3 weeks away from the release of the game, and they're putting out, DLSS trailers, and hopefully we get a full optimization guide. I love to see things like that, and I love to see things like that ahead of a game coming out, not on the day the game releases as a form of damage control like what Gearbox did with Borderlands 4, and for a game like this, being an extraction shooter, you want as many people as humanly possible playing the game. You want the community to be active, and if it's accessible to a wide array of people on different hardware sets, that's the ideal scenario. Moving on from being accessible, making sure your pricing is according is certainly an important element. Arc Raiders' Twitter account has noted, we've adjusted Arc Raiders pricing in select locations to ensure a fairer experience for everyone. Coming into effect on all storefronts today, Epic will follow next week. If you've already purchased Arc Raiders in one of the adjusted regions, refunds are on the way. Processing times may vary by platform. Your continuous feedback help us make Arc Raiders a game we are proud of, so please keep it up. This might seem like a little thing on the surface, especially if you're in an area where it's not impacted, but I'm telling you guys, for a game like this, new IP, new studio, etc., you want to build as much goodwill as possible, and having elements like the game looking to be optimized, the system requirements aren't insane, and then also adjusting pricing in the regions that it would be relevant to, that's building a lot of goodwill right out the gate, and goodwill is one of the biggest attributes you can have for a game like this, especially a live service game that is gonna have, how are you gonna get people to spend money on various monetization aspects of the game if they don't have that relationship, that goodwill established? That's how you get people on the back end to ultimately support a game like this. It's a transactional relationship in the sense that you treat the consumer with respect, they ultimately will treat you with respect back. That's generally how in an ideal world things would go, and generally speaking, it does go that way a lot of times. Now, ultimately, beyond just building this goodwill on the level of that, of making sure the pricing is right, you also want to have a quality game, but ultimately we'll see if it's a quality game when it drops, but that is being impacted as well, and if you're in an impacted region, they're going to be adjust that as well. They are reducing the price, mind you, in several countries to ensure a more fair price point across the board. This includes areas like Brazil, Chile, China, Colombia, Costa Rica, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Peru, Philippines, Taiwan, Thailand, Ukraine, Uruguay, and Vietnam. So good stuff there. Lastly, I do want to note that Arc Raiders' Twitter account did make a note that we're still on track to release a censored, obviously, Arc Raiders on October 30th, but they're censoring that. And the Arc Raiders Alerts Twitter account did note that Arc Raiders is getting censored in Call of Duty Black Ops 7's in-game chat. First EA and now Activision. Do these corporate giants really feel that insecure? You know, I can understand not wanting other games to be promoted, but censoring it, I just don't think is a good look, and ultimately I think that just helps promote the game even more, because look at this. Arc Raiders made fun of that notion, and this tweet has 14,000 likes and 1.2 million views. When you do things like that, it ultimately promotes a game even more. At least that's my vantage point of it. Maybe, you know, Activision has data or whatever the case may be, and they view that this is the best way to handle it and make sure other entities and games aren't promoted on their servers, but still, I just don't think that's an effective way to go about things. Nevertheless, I do think it's hilarious that Arc Raiders team is poking fun at it, and I think this is the best way to go. You just make a tongue-in-cheek remark about it, and then by October 30th, you know, let the momentum build, and hopefully the game is of quality and the game will sell itself. But that is going to do it for me. Again, I think the system requirement should be a big talking point when it comes to Arc Raiders, because if this game performs well and it is running on this lower-end hardware well, a huge W, especially in an era of PC gaming where games are running like absolute garbage. We just had Borderlands 4 come out, and that was one of the biggest talking points of that game. Arc Raiders kind of spinning that, and hopefully it runs well on consoles as well. That's ideally what you want to see, so hopefully everything across the board is well done from a performance standpoint. Pricing has been adjusted. You love to see that, and again, that's a big element of building some goodwill, and I do think the censorship as far as what's going on in the Call of Duty and Battlefield chats is kind of hilarious, but we'll see how that's going. EA first did it, and now Activision as well. That's going to do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.